We have many weeks in front of us to cover division number 1. We will take our time to do it accordingly and properly. We begin, beloved. So if you want to make your note, we begin the class right now. I have on my notes here Psalm 119:18. You don't need to go there, but it says, "Open our eyes, Lord, that we may behold wonderful things from your law." In the Jewish frame of reference, just to let you know that, you will see that I provide quite a few details. The word wonderful is the Hebrew word pele. And the Hebrew word pele is always for a Jewish person, Orthodox, or even the atheist, something that they reserve for the things of God. So this is my prayer for you. A Jew will never say, "I have a wonderful wife. I have a wonderful home." They keep the word pele for the things of God only. So that's my prayer with you, with my eyes open. Open our eyes, Lord, that we may behold wonderful things from your law. We are together, beloved, studying the life of the Messiah from a Jewish perspective. Why, Francois, a Jewish perspective? By the way, did you know that in North America, United States and Canada, there is only one seminary across the two countries that have a Jewish Department of Studies, and this is Moody Bible Institute in Chicago. That's the only one. That's the only school in North America that have a special division, basically, if you want to, of Jewish department studies concerning the Old Testament and the New and so on. When we study books like Galatians, 1 Corinthians, Ephesians, and so on, we need and we have to use what we call the Greek and Roman frame of reference. It's important for the background of these epistles and so forth when we study these books. Okay? But this is not quite the same with the life of Christ. It is very important to keep in mind the Jewish frame of reference in regards to the life of the Messiah. Why? Because in the Gospels account, when I say Gospels account, you will see that this is a word that I use quite often. Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. Have I done a mistake? It should be Matthew, Mark, but in the Gospel it's Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. That's how they laid out the Gospel, assuming that Mark wrote first. Doesn't matter. In the four Gospels account, what we have here, things are said the way they are said. Things happen the way they happen, and things are written the way they're written because of the Jewish frame of reference of the first century. And that's what we will learn together. We will learn some phraseology that these authors, they wrote their gospel, but they were not from Rome. They were not from Greece. They were Jewish people. And what Jesus said, what he taught, the phraseology, the expressions being used and so forth are given because of that Jewish frame of reference. So we will see that lots of things basically will come to light and say, oh, okay, makes sense. I always use kind of a childish analogy that if the Messiah would have been from Quebec City, he would have written a parable concerning the maple syrup. That's what we do out there in the spring. So there would have been kind of short parable about the freezing cold and the blizzards and the maple syrup. That's exactly what he did when he provides the parable of the sower and he explained the land and so forth. When he gets to Caesarea Philippi and he says something about upon this rock I will build my church and you are cut out. And he says these things based upon what he was seeing at the very moment. So that's why the Jewish frame of reference is absolutely kind of essential to have a clear, healthy understanding of the Gospel's account. Just to let you know that around 400 AD, in the church age and so forth, around 400 AD after Christ, or C, Common Era, if you want to, this frame of reference was basically ignored in the major line church. Now you have one answer. Some people, and I'm not shy to say it, why do we have today so many denominations? It's because of the ignorance of the Jewish frame of reference that has basically, in the early 4th and 5th century, gave birth to so many. That's basically the reason why we have boiled down to that way. Like, as an example, lots of people don't understand what it is to be born of water. We will completely peel off the encounter with Nicodemus and so forth, and you will see later on, not in that context, that Nicodemus, not in Division 1, but in Division 2, that Nicodemus knew something about what it is to be born again. That's why he says, how can I be born again? You circle that part later on, when I am old. So it means that he knew something. Because if the timeline of age would be insignificant, the slight expression, when I am old, wouldn't be in the text. We'll discover why in division number 2. God's allowing us to reach that part. Just an expression that I wanted to have as to why we go with the Jewish frame of reference. Make a note of what I will say for the next maybe 5 points here. I'd like to provide you, beloved, with reasons for that class. Do you have a purpose, Francois, to do it? Is that only having you out front with a lapel mic and taping the class to show off? Let's go with expression, why do we do the class of the life of the Messiah from a Jewish perspective? My first choice would be, and this is just my humble input, enhancing our sense of awe at the Christmas issues. It relates more to the first part. Enhancing our sense of awe of what Christ did for us, which is the core of Christianity. That's one of the reasons why we do that class. It's very important for me that you know these things. Number 2, to deepen our roots in the knowledge of His Word. To deepen our roots in the knowledge of the gospel. That's why we do this class, to deepen our roots in the knowledge of the Word of God. Jot down a reference, Ephesians chapter 4:14. Ephesians chapter 4:14. And your roots, as they deepen in the knowledge of the Messiah, it cannot be uprooted. So what do we do? And it is certainly not because I'm the one doing it, will have, beloved, eternal benefits. It's a commitment.